Hello, welcome to Laura in a Minute. And today we are going to be talking about one of the illustrators of the Little House books, Helen Sewell. Sewell was a very well-known illustrator, and she wasn't just limited to children's books. For example, in another one of my collections, I just went and pulled this one, which is her version of Pride and Prejudice. And she started out doing all of the books in the series, and at some point during their publication she was in a car accident, and it's usually presented after that her friend, they were both greeting card illustrators, Mildred Boyle, stepped in to do some of the rest of the series. Now really she did very little after the accident. Mostly the front pieces, and her friend Mildred Boyle did the majority of the rest of them. And it's kind of an odd thing, but her books are illustrated in lovely ways, and if you, for instance, look at the clothes, they are more accurately depicted in the Sewell's book than they are in Garth Williams', despite the fact Garth gets more fanfare for an accurate version of the Little House stories. So, next time you are looking for a Little House illustrator, remember, it's not just Garth Williams, it's also Helen Sewell and Mildred Boyle. And this has been Laura in a Minute. Welcome to Laura in a Minute, and today we're going to talk about author Mary Jane Holmes. Now, she's not in my Laura collection actually, because I started collecting her before I'd gotten very far in collecting Laura. She was a best-selling author of the 19th century. Think of her along the lines of Daniel Steele, James Patterson, Tom Clancy, that kind of thing. Really, really well-known, lots and lots of books sold. In fact, you could even get a postcard of her house. A friend of mine online got me a picture of the house today. It's still mostly still there, although I don't think most people remember the name Mary Jane Holmes. Now, why I was collecting her is because of this book, Homestead on the Hillside. It was one of my great-grandmother's favorite books, and it's where my grandmother's name comes from. If you haven't read any Mary Jane Holmes, I would urge you to read this one first, because it will give you kind of a good flair for what her books are going to be, even if you just pick a couple of the short stories, because this is a collection of short stories. And it's a little different than what you're used to reading today. And before you dive into a whole novel, let's try a short story. But of course, the reason that Laura people know her is because of Millbank. This is the book they talk about on the Banks of Plum Creek. Ma reads it to the family a lot, so often that Laura has memorized the opening lines. And when she's trying to convince Ma she doesn't really have to go to school, she opens up the book and starts. Every window and shutter at Millbank was closed. Knots of crape were streaming from both of the bell knobs. So, check out Mary Jane Holmes. It's amazing that she's completely disappeared off of our pop culture map, and I don't think she really deserves that. Give her a read, and look for my grandmother's name in Homestead on the Hillside. This has been Laura in a Minute. Welcome to Laura in a Minute. Today we're going to talk about the Hayders, Berta and Elmer Hayder, who were book illustrators of some note, and Berta was also known for her paper dolls. Now, when I think of the Hayders, I often think of the Little Stone House, which not only has the words little and house in it, but it shows their trip and journey to build their dream house, mostly all by themselves. And I think that is just a great story, and it's wonderful that it happened in real life too. Be sure on any Hayter illustrated book to check the back of the title page for their unique self-portrait for that particular book. But the reason that you might have heard of the Hayters is because of The Big Snow. This is their book that won a Caldecott Award for Best Illustrations, and it just happens to take place during the very same blizzard as the little footage at the beginning of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And the reason that we should care about the Hayters, besides the fact that they wrote some wonderful books and they are very well-known illustrators, is that Berta Hayter is the little artist girl who Rose suggested that who suggested to Rose that Laura turn the Little House series into children's books rather than trying to continue to get it published for adults. So thank you, Berta Hayter, and every Little House fan owes you a thank you.